Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the EBSI-NE Demystifying Seminar and Workshop. This is one of the many seminars and workshops that member states who participate in EBSI-NE are organizing in order to bring to a broader audience a better knowledge of what EBSI and EBSI-NE is. So I will just remind you the agenda. Panos will open, let's say, this seminar with an overview of EBSI and the EBSI-NE project. And then we have some guests for a panel discussion regarding the role of EBSI-NE in the future of the EBSI ecosystem. We have we have the questions, the Q&A, and then we have a short break. And then the workshop regarding EBSI-NE will start. Seth will do the introduction, and then they will run an EBSI workshop for around an hour, then Q&A, and then end of the session. I will just remind you the main objectives of this session is just to get a clear overview and get acquainted with EBSI and EBSI-NE, identify the goals and scope of EBSI-NE, understand how this project fits into the broader EBSI ecosystem and what has been done so far, and explore some of the use cases and real-world applications. So I'm passing the ball to Panos. I will stop sharing.
Okay, so listen to myself.
We have a double voice. This one.
Okay, now it's better.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So this is just to give an overview of EBSI and the EBSI-NE project. We start with the fundamentals of blockchain, and then we go to EBSI network, use cases, and what's next for EBSI-NE, and then what is next. So for blockchain, for those who have probably for those who have not been in this planet for the last 2 years, if they need a refresher of what the blockchain is, it basically distributes the digital ledger technology. So instead of writing something in one single database, you distribute it, you write it all over in you write it all over in different nodes, as they call it, and then you have a transaction mechanism to derive the final truth, an agreement protocol, so that the different nodes can reach a consensus on what exactly has been recorded. The key feature is decentralized, so as I said, there's a consensus. Transparency means that everybody sees the same thing. Once something has been written, it cannot be rewritten, so you cannot rewrite history. And all these are underpinned by very, very nice cryptographic protocols. So this is a way, and that's why it started some years back, to trust digital transaction without needing to place trust to a specific entity, organization, or person. So trust is inherent in the whole network, or at least in the majority of the participants who reach a consensus. And the blockchain, well, it has exploded. Probably the most famous application that we know are cryptocurrencies, but that's a small part. There are different blockchain technologies, and one of them forms the technological backbone of EBSI and this project EBSI-NE. So what is EBSI then? EBSI is a blockchain network that has been developed under the auspices of the European Commission and the European Union. And it was started in order to kickstart applications and use cases in public sector with placing particular weight on cross-border use cases so that the citizens would use blockchain technologies across borders in their dealings with various agencies or universities. We'll see some of the use cases as we go on. The way it works, it is a network, so it is a separate blockchain. It is run by the EU member states. The computers that run the blockchain are called nodes, and they are located in EU member states. There is one, or there can be one or more nodes. So these are selected. And it uses a concession mechanism which is based on proof of authority, which means that it's also energy friendly, so we don't have a problem of burning or creating a lot of CO2 emissions. Use a proof of authority mechanism among the selected among the nodes that constitute the network. This started back in 2018 when the European Commission established the European Blockchain Partnership. The idea was exactly to create a blockchain infrastructure that would be able to support public services. Then, after 1 year, EBSI was launched with the goal to identify use cases. These were submitted by the member states, and they were selected, and this was the use case that would showcase the power of blockchain and the benefit to the citizens in cross-border scenario. The first use cases were diploma verification, sovereign identity, trusted document exchange, and notarization. Then in 2020 and 2021, EBSI entered its early operational phase. So it was the first experiments that we tested that tested the technologies, and we had pilot applications showcasing EBSI in the selected application domains. And then based on that, from 2022, there's a push to expanding, so include more nodes and also aligning EBSI with the changing landscape. So we had ADAS that is evolving. We had the European Digital Identity Wallet. So there is an effort to align EBSI with the changing and evolving technological landscape. Now then in 2023, the EBSI-NE or EBSI-NE project was launched, whose goal is to take the EBSI network to the next level. So we had a number of nodes. This should be upgraded and should be expanded and should reach production level. We should pilot, the aim was to pilot new use cases and broaden the base by promoting stakeholder participation, new research, and new ideas. Some of the use cases, this is just a smattering of them. They have to do with track and trace. This is a logistic chain, so you are able to track items as they travel through the supply chain. Verifiable credentials, and this is related also to diploma management. So it means that you have credentials, like for instance, university diplomas, and then you have to present them in a verifiable way, and also, if possible, giving only the required information, or not information that is not required for the task at hand. Share the data in a controlled way. Social security, which would mean to be able to transfer, for instance, or to verify social security contributions across member states. Qualification passport for refugees. This is for people that have arrived in Europe over the last few years and and who have an education, but it is difficult to verify the status. So can use blockchain in order to be able to record their educational qualifications, and the refugees then can share this information and use it for the professional activities in Europe, and other more. We could also mention other such applications, and this is, as I said, just a smattering. Then the project that for which we form part here, the European Blockchain Service Infrastructure Node Expansion, or EBSI-NE, or EBSI-NE. It is a project that started 2023 and this year. It's coordinated by the Spanish Ministry of Economic Affairs and Digital Transformation. There are 24 partners from 14 countries. And as I said, the idea is to bring EBSI, the EBSI infrastructure to the next level. So this means increasing the number and diversity of nodes, validating real-world applications, supporting digital sovereignty and cross-border trust, and aligning with the evolving technological landscape, and Digital Euro program, and the European Digital Identity Wallets. The aim of the project was first and foremost to expand the EBSI infrastructure, which means adding new nodes to the country, both validation production nodes and piloting nodes. So you see on the map that right now we have EBSI nodes all around the place. So in this aspect, the project it was successful. And this brings together the node operators, which are entities, for instance, like us, GRNet, in different countries. These operators operate the nodes, and then support services which are offered to people that want to use the network. The project is structured in 4 work packages and would have to do with project management, deployment of nodes, support services, and dissemination. So going directly to the deployment of EBSI nodes, that means that the EBSI nodes, they must be installed in a certified way. We require ISO certification in terms of security. We must follow the onboarding process that is specified by EBSI. It must be testing correctness. The aim of the work package is to make sure that the new EBSI nodes are deployed in the correct way, reliably and securely. Once we have support nodes and the network is running, then we must have national personalized technical support. So that means technical support security, providing teams, providing tools, doing training, assessing eIDAS conformity. So you must have people that offer the support services, and this is the subject matter of WP3. And the WP4 is communication and dissemination. So although blockchains have been around for quite some time, still many people are not aware of their potential, especially with what concerns the public sector. So WP4 is doing this outreach so that demystifies what EBSI is all about and can broaden the community and interest in its use. So that means that EBSI is open, and you can join our stakeholder community, submit your questions, attend our training session, demystifying seminars like today, or subscribe to our newsletter. And an interesting now question is the future, because the project is nearing its end. And so what is going to come afterwards? So discussions in the context of EBSI have already started, and the proposal that's actively discussed is to evolve and to create a new European cooperative society, provisionally called EBSI Nexus, which is going to be a society that will comprise the node operators. And this will ensure the long-term sustainability of the network. The EBSI needs the resources to run, so it costs. So we must ensure that the node operators can and continue doing what they're doing for the foreseeable future. So the idea is that the EBSI Nexus can be formed, and this can facilitate both the use of and the application of public use cases, which is what EBSI has been doing, but also private use cases, which is something new. We have not been doing that already. And this with close cooperation with the European EDIC, which will be the entity that will give strategy and guidance for the public use cases. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you. I guess we can now start with our panel discussion. I can see that Stephen is not logged in yet, but I guess we can start with some let's say, questions and view from our panelists. I will start with an introduction. Oh, there he is, Stefan. Hello, Stefan. Good morning.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, so with us today, we have Stefan Schwalm, who is the Princess Business Consultant MSC Group and Trace for EU Coordinator. We have Jonas. Jonas, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. It is Zarliknevicius.
No, don't worry about that.
Okay. He's CEO from eDelivery Lithuania and the EBSI-NE Work Package Technical Lead. We have Daniel with us. He's a research coordinator from Howest University and EBSI Vector WP Lead, and of course Panos, Director of Research and Development at GRNet and Professor in the Department of Management Science and Technology in Athens University of Economics and Business. So welcome everyone and thank you for your participation. I will start with addressing Panos explained the history of EBSI-NE, the history of EBSI and EBSI-NE, but I would like to start asking the rest of the participants in the panel if you can briefly explain how EBSI-NE fits into the broader EBSI ecosystem through your experience, and what challenges does it aim to address? So I guess I can start with Stefan. Stefan.
Yeah, I think personally, on Trace for you, I think we challenge the work with face the following challenges, or we focus on subjects like product and material traceability, document and data traceability. So exactly the utilization of EBSI to fulfill European regulation on digital product passport and supply chain. So you know that according to European regulation, any company in Europe has to provide a digital product passport and they have to fulfill legal requirements on supply chain. And the focus of Trace for You is exactly to combine identity and transaction. So the identity at product passport relates to an organizational identity. It will be issued in an organizational wallet. Then it is fulfilled during the whole supply chain so that every party in the supply chain puts their evidence for a product in the product passport. At the end, I have to complete one. But what I still miss is the actual supply chain. So the evidence that we fulfilled European regulation and this stuff, and this is what we actually combine. So to make sure and to show how blockchain can solve those challenges in fulfilling European regulation. This is on one hand, and on the other hand is that we have the EIDAS regulation in place in Europe, and knowing that Panos is also taking part in other projects in this subject, so it's a bit to integrate the European blockchain service infrastructure in the EIDAS ecosystem. So exactly to observe how we can qualify this in terms of the qualified trust service provider for electronic ledger, how we can adjust the EBSI so that at the end of the day, Europe can use all this public good with a governmental trust anchor per default for key European initiatives and to fulfill European regulation like product passport, like supply chain subjects and other ones. So the challenges, long story short, is a bit to, on one hand, to show how we can fulfill European initiatives and regulations, supply chain, product passport, and similar. And on the other hand, also to make clear how EBSI can serve the EIDAS regulation for citizens and companies in Europe.
I'm sorry, maybe Daniel cannot hear us. I was just asking what's your view on the challenges that EBSI-NE aims to address and how EBSI-NE fits into the broader EBSI ecosystem through your experience.
Sorry, are you addressing the question,
Yes.
Maria? Yeah,
Yes.
to me? Yeah. Okay, so if I can, so I think Stefan already mentioned the big challenges that we have. Indeed, we are seeing a big European project, big digital transformations on every sector. So on citizens, on organizations, with the digital identity, with the digital product passport, with many other initiatives that are changing the world. No? Now, of course, for those kind of big changes, we can, of course, rely to the classical solution that we have, centralized systems, authentic sources, public sector driven kind of approaches. But as the world has evolved to something more complex, where a lot of actors interact, those models don't tend to work and are not scalable on this kind of thing. So you need a solution that is scalable, that is by default decentralized, and that many actors can use in many different systems. And that's exactly the role that EBSI can play in those transformation to provide a layer that can be used in multiple situations, but still providing that trust. Yeah? So Stefan mentioned that he is now active with EBSI Trace and Digital Product Passport. That is also a very complex system with many actors cross-border, cross-sector interacting with each other and needing a source of trust. In the EBSI Vector project where I'm involved, we also see the similar kind of things, but on the digital identity level. There you have citizens that want to use their identity credentials in a way that is free for them, but don't be obstructed by many different organizations that don't trust each other by default. Of course, the UDI and the different large-scale pilots are working on those kind of things, but they need building blocks. You need building blocks to change that approach, that you don't have a direct interaction or a classical identity approach, but you have a wallet that is in full control. And then again, that is also the role that EBSI can play in that community to provide a decentralized trust layer and also ensure that interaction are perfectly private. Yeah? So EBSI Vector is focusing on how can we do that in education and social security. Now, of course, EBSI is not the EUDI, is not a digital product passport. So just to position it right, and I think also Panos has mentioned that, it is a supporting layer. Yeah? So we are building a support layer so that other big projects can use those kind of things. So sometimes we get also the remark, yeah, but this is in competition. Is this an alternative? No, it's not. Yeah? Now, of course, and also Panos has mentioned that, the challenge is, of course, if you want to be a building block, if you want to be a relying aspect, you need to, of course, to ensure that you have a stable model, yeah? That the nodes can be running for multiple years, 5 to 10, 20 years, that are stable. As you have a distributed ledger, it needs to be paramount. So that's also the reason why the node operators are heavily reflecting, okay, what would be a model that we are there in between now and 20 years, so that it's going to be sustainable. We don't want to make a platform very commercial driven, but we want to make a stable backbone of the new decentralized identity. And that's exactly what we are doing. And that is also the challenge that we have also today. EBSI is not one big project ruled by a small corp or driven by the commission. No, it is an interaction between many actors. So today we are focusing a bit on node operators and the use cases that are involved. But you see that in the ecosystems, there are also a lot of other actors, wallet providers, service providers that can use the system and that can also be providing commercial or non-commercial service to this kind of thing. So you see that that's also a big challenge, and we need to see how we can govern that complexity. So that's a bit, I think we have still many challenges. On the other hand, as Panos had mentioned, there is a history of building, steadily building. And I think it's also, EBSI is in that sense very unique, that you have a collaboration, public-private, and between many countries. So that is, I think, unique in Europe to see how we can progress and are building that infrastructure But now, of course, we need to keep it stable so that many things can be used.
Fun, I don't know.
And I mean, now, I mean, everything that was said already has been pretty much covered. Just two things. One is that it was mentioned that other projects have started now around the digital wallets, and some of them target things that could fall under the purview of EBSI. For instance, in the WeBuild project, there are use cases that deal with logistics and supply chain. So the challenge for EBSI would be, and EBSI is not included right now, okay, because it's not part of the digital wallet, at least in the current state. So the challenge for EBSI would be to show the relevance. That, you have now these pilots with the digital wallet, and this is how EBSI could make things easier, and that is how it would contribute. A second thing that could be explored in the coming short term or even medium term is the current thrust in most things digital in Europe and elsewhere now is generative AI. And there have been discussions how the blockchain could have a role there, in particular for intellectual property. So the problem with generative AI, as we know, is how you safeguard the intellectual property when you have all these models taking material from the web and then creating new material. And we know that blockchain is very good for creating fingerprints and for ensuring that your intellectual property is properly registered. So one challenge that we have not yet discussed, and perhaps it's also an opportunity for EBSI, is to show how EBSI could be relevant or an asset in generative AI.
Jonas, you have a deep technical expertise on what is going on in EBSI-NE, so I don't know if you want to share your opinion on the matter from the technical side of things.
Well, essentially, everything was said already.
Yes.
So basically, from a technical perspective, it is something that is hidden beneath the curtains. So, well, indeed, we have native validating nodes as a project. Greece has too. So, and I'm glad you're fully compliant. So, I mean, from technical side, technical side of the project is, I think it's, well, indeed, it is a key pillar of the whole ecosystem. Nevertheless, it's not the main one. So the challenges that were addressed by Daniel, Stefan, and Panos, I mean, it depends on a layer on which you are relying. So essentially, if you want a cross-border approach, you need some sort of a governmental anchor or a governmental trust. It means that couple of markets, different countries can rely on EBSI as a root source of trust in whichever application. And it can begin via the government supporting the EBSI or acknowledging it as a technology for trust. So that's why we have an EDIC for that purpose. So with EDIC in place and liaison with acknowledging the EBSI as a root source of trust, we can have a broader usage of EBSI, one, and secondly, it can be used by use cases that demand cross-border interoperability. But from technical perspective, I think more or less we are getting that momentum. More and more node operators are being fully compliant. So right now we are working on a security measures, how to properly protect the network. So it means not just running up the node. So there are complex procedures behind, and we are thinking about organizing a network of data sharing, security threats sharing, and how we should mitigate the risk. And for instance, if there will be a malicious activity, for instance, in Lithuania, the aim here would be somehow inform Greek nodes that okay, from from that source coming something bad. So basically, let's block that as a whole network, as a consortium. So, well, indeed, we as a project and this project was intended to solve those challenges that were raised by my colleagues.
Okay. I was aimed to ask you what are the technological innovations from that EBSI brought, but I think you kind of described this in terms of security.
I mean, Maria, the security here is, it can be a technical one, like an ISO certification. I mean, procedures in place, servers are being reliable, network is being cyber security resilient, resilient to threats, as well as additional initiative coming from us as an operators, like an example. Okay, for instance, only confirmed wallet providers, as just an example, only confirmed wallet providers can connect to a network using, for instance, certificates. So in practice, it would mean that the network is fully closed for those who are not being either endorsed or whatever it is. So it's not that it is a technical one rather than organizational one, and it's up to us to propose such ideas and think about how to strengthen the network. Considering the problems with quantum computing, etc. But it's for the future.
Thank you, Jonas. I would like to address next question to Daniel and Stephen, that they're participating in EBSI Vector and Trace for EU. If you can share with us some of the use cases that they're implemented there, and my understanding that there are successful cases, right? From the output we have so far. So Stephen, I don't know if you want to start.
Yeah, I may start and Trace. I think we mainly focus on B2B use cases. As mentioned, we have a bit two pillars or application areas. One is on product and material traceability, which is a bit, as mentioned, focused on the subject of digital product passport, which we pilot by the example of batteries for electric cars. So pretty much, I think, an famous and important use case looking at the Green Deal and the other requirements and the regulations in Europe. On the other hand, proof of origin of products, so like let's say Norwegian fish or the halloumis. So halloumi is only allowed to be caught if it's coming from Cyprus. So there is interest of European regions of that. I can really prove if a product is really coming from this region, if it's really origin. I think it's an interest of European countries and also of Europe itself, which we serve in this project using the EBSI exactly for this traceability subject. On the other hand, we have the application area of data and document traceability, where we focus, for example, on decreasing the risk of fraud in HR. Yes, so imagine you get an application and there is mentioned somebody did a PhD, somebody had a master degree, etc. Currently, we need to believe in it. Yeah, I can't really prove it, but this is exactly what we solve, to have an application where any evidence, any testimonial, any diploma is at the end of the day an attestation of attributes in terms of EIDAS, so that I can really prove if somebody did a PhD or a diploma. And this is exactly the link a bit to Vector. Vector creates exactly the diploma we use in the resume for an application, for example, to decrease the fraud for the fraud risk. Another use case, I think it's a quite interesting one, because we focus also on the ownership of intellectual property. So who owns a song? Who owns a film? So I need the organization. I need to make evident the ownership based on an attestation, but it's not everything. What we also focus on is just to sell, to sell those ownerships, to implement exactly the trait of ownership. How we do this if we are using a non-fungible token which represents exactly the ownership. Everything done in the EBSI. So again, what we make evident is the unique selling point, you can say, of the EBSI, because it's the only infrastructure, public infrastructure in Europe, where you can combine identity and transaction. Who owns something, and I can sell it using an NFT in the infrastructure. And in the public infrastructure, as mentioned, with the governmental trust anchor. So the core subjects of trace focusing on traceability, always in the combination of identity, organization, persons, attestations, and the transactions. And before I give the ball to Dania, the next interface, you can say, or collaboration in this subject is we don't create our own organizational wallet. This does not make sense because this is exactly one use case which Vector is doing to develop business wallets and show the interoperability and also make clear how an organizational identity can look like. We remember the words from Ursula von der Leyen that this is a strategic initiative in Europe. Where we only reuse what Vector is doing. And I think with these words, I give the ball to you, Dania.
Okay, thank you very much, Stefan. Indeed. So as SP Trace is more under the traceability, of course, we in EBSI Vector are looking more at the decentralized identity and verified credentials use cases. We focus that in 3 areas, which have a different level of maturity in that regard. So you have education, which has already a bit in history about sharing educational credentials. So there was already a few years ago the EBSI early adopters, where a lot of wallet providers and institutions and organizations are really experiencing that. The social security is also a sector that we are looking at in verified credential, which is less mature in that sense, that they are still into the piloting phase and trying to explore all the things that are needed before this goes in production. And one last use case is not focusing on the identity of individual people or natural persons, but is focusing on organization identity. But in the similar cases, in the 3 cases, we always look at it from in the same angle. Yeah, we are looking about, okay, what is needed to make organization, to make people exchange information in a way that they can control it. Yeah, and therefore you need different building blocks. And in EBSI Vector, we are trying to see, okay, how can we mature those building blocks? One crucial aspect is, of course, the wallet. That's a tool that the citizen use to do the interaction, but there's also the tool, and Stefan already mentioned that, the tool that the organization use to also interact to the holder, because an organization in our model, they issue at the start credentials in that verified credential format towards citizens. The citizen can keep those credentials into his holder, and then he shares, of course, those credentials to a party where he needs to verify those kind of things. To make that completely work, you need, of course, clear specifications and mature specification. And that's also what EBSI Vector was trying to do, try to define what is needed and also make them interoperable, because we don't also want a system where everybody needs to choose exactly the same wallet, but you need interoperable wallets. So every citizen can make its own choice in those kind of things. So that is a very important aspect. Now, of course, for that to work that system, you need again that layer. So we also helped in the EBSI Vector system to say, okay, what is the blockchain layer? What needs to be stored at that level? Also GDPR compliant and also eIDAS compliant to see that it's working. Now, in education, as mentioned, we already had experience and we made the network more mature so that people are now at the almost ready to use it in production. Now, of course, before educational use case credentials can be used, you have a bit of chicken of egg problem. Yeah? An individual university that issues credentials and that students can store, but the student can not share them in any sector is a problem. Yeah? So you need, of course, a big uptake before this is getting interesting. So that is a problem. To tackle that, we try to see that within the EBSI Vector project, we try to have educational university consortia that all work together and try to see that, okay, if I issue credentials, you are ready to verify them, and they already work in that context. Yeah? So that's a first step where things can work, and hopefully they can also be improved and work, and that is all going to be a standard in every sense. So that is worked, that being done. What is an education credential? Of course, a diploma, but it's also a student ID, and so all the other things that you can use, micro credentials that could be useful to be shared, not only within the education, but of course outside, because proving in an easy way that you are a student can give you maybe access to student reductions, in sectors, in sports, in all kind of entertainment. So that's also the actual use case that we are trying to do. In social security, we are looking at similar approaches, but there we are looking at work credentials. So people get work credentials. So if they look at, okay, I work in Italy, I have saved, I have certain rights, social rights, I go to another country, that I can prove that I'm in the same situation. So we have the health insurance card that we are, and also the PDA-1 document. Now, very important documents in social security, but how can we change that and direct that and have the worker in that sense easily share that without a fuss of heavily administrative power? Because at this moment, proving something from an outside country is an administrative nightmare. You need to share the paper, they need to call it. It can take a lot of months before something easily gets checked, because there is no trust. I see a paper from Greece, I don't understand it, I need to translate it, and I need to contact again the organization that turns it, is the stamp correct, and so on and so on. So months go on. With the system that we propose from verification credential backed up with blockchain, it can be a matter of seconds where you easily check, yes, this is trustworthy, yes, this comes from the US organization, yes, this is released to the US person, and then we can go on with the real things. And the last case I want to mention, already mentioned, but I want to briefly describe, is of course the business registry. And there we see, of course, more and even more important interaction that goes business to business. How do you prove that you are indeed a company from Greece that is selling or providing product? How can I trust you? We have indeed all the national business registries. Nobody has, not everybody has access to this kind of thing. And how do we prove that you are indeed mandated by the firm to act, to sign all those kind of things? If you think about all those kind of features, this is an administrative nightmare. Proving that, yes, I am the representative of that Greek firm. Yes, I can sign a deal with you. Yes, I can do. And of course, interacted in a digital way, not in person, make that very difficult. So we see in the business registry / organization identity, a very big case that will be having more transaction. So again, the EBSI network will be needed to be ready to handle as many transactions for that case, even bigger than in educational, because to be honest, educational credentials, you share them, they are interesting, but mostly at the beginning of your academic career, maybe at the end where you receive the diploma. But then business to business interaction is more aspect. So that was the focus on EBSI Vector. The project ends end of May, where we will be having results. And now we are also reflecting, okay, how is the future, and how can we also have a productive network, and so that we have something that can be used by citizens and by organizations. So that's a bit an overview, Maria, about the EBSI Vector and the contribution on the use case level.
Thank you, Daniel. Daniel, Jonas wants to share some opinions on this.
For sure. I'm taking part as a piloting organization and business registries as well in EBSI Vector.
Great.
Indeed, it's a huge thing. I mean, in terms of identity. Nevertheless, I wanted to touch one additional topic here. While EBSI Vector is focuses on EBSI, Trace4EU relies on EBSI. There's a DC4EU as well, which actually looks into the EBSI as well as a trust service provider. It means in practice that, okay, it's in a Woody wallet and as well as the whole EIDAS ecosystem with all the roles, etc. Nevertheless, from academic perspective, because I'm taking part in Work Package 5, which focuses on academic domain and professional qualifications, the problem here is that while you can check the authenticity of the issued credential, that's perfectly fine. You need to recognize that from academic perspective. In practice, it means it should the organization that issues the credentials, it should be somehow accredited, or I need to somehow check whether it has a proper accreditation. It is authorized to issue certain credentials on a certain EQF level. So all that stuff in the EIDAS is rather generalized. So in DC4EU, we are thinking about how to accommodate EBSI trust model that is way more mature, I think, in terms of academic domain needs, rather than EIDAS. So combination of it, I mean, EIDAS on top as a main driver, and with extension coming from EBSI, can greatly help or assist member states that have plans to implement EIDAS, I mean, in academic domain. It's not about PAD, as just a disclaimer, because usually it is somehow mixed here that, okay, EBSI can somehow support PAD. It's not the case. But for academic domain needs, non-foundational IDs issuance like student ID, diplomas, micro-credentials. So a Woody wallet could be used as well as a mechanism to transport those credentials, and EBSI here could be used as a trust anchor.
Thank you, Jonas. I don't know, Panos, if you want to share your thoughts about the student diplomas that we...
Well, I think everything was covered
Yeah.
already, so I cannot really add something. Student diplomas, of course, is the most obvious one, and we have checked it here. But yeah, I think the challenge, the opportunity is probably for legal persons, because this is what also the EI does and the digital wallets want to do. So use cases that we use a wallet for legal persons and how to use a blockchain for that. But apart from that, I mean, everything I think for the use cases was already covered.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience before actually having our last question to you. They asked us, when can member states implement the directives and which blockchain protocol will be used? Jonas, I don't know if you have any insight in this.
There's a good question and a valid one. So basically, if you want to use EBSI for a production purpose, so we're working on that. I mean, while from technical perspective, we're fully ready. From organizational perspective, we're working on that. Our project will be finished at the end of July. So in practice, it means that, and Panos already showed that slide with organizational architecture, which we're building and relying and thinking about. I mean, how we as a network, how we will be organized afterwards. In practice, it means there should be someone in the centers providing SLAs, first line support, as well as organizing the whole network in the future. So we are working on that. From blockchain perspective, we're using QBFT, I mean, consensus mechanism. Nevertheless, if you're looking at the EBSI as it is right now, you should not think about blockchain at all. what do I mean behind here? I mean, directly with the blockchain, no end user can interact. Blockchain is used for ensuring immutability, for security reasons. So basically, you are relying on something on a ledger where all of the transactions are being recorded and all the records are being well distributed among all nodes. Whereas the API that you are utilizing for your use cases, to some extent, it is a centralized one. It means that you have a single entry point that is heavily secured, distributed geographically. Nevertheless, end users won't get that feeling of a blockchain directly. I mean, it's also a disclaimer. It's just about EBSI as it is right now, as you see it right now. It doesn't mean that we as a node operators, we cannot accommodate additional protocols aside to EBSI. I'm not saying that we will change EBSI unless EDIC will decide that or a future development will show that. But we can accommodate additional blockchains and give it as a service, being a network of nodes. But as currently we're talking about EBSI blockchain is not being directly exposed to the public. That's part of the security measures, actually.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jonas. And one last question to all of you is, well, we had a really fruitful discussion on our workshop about EBSI-NE future and sustainability last week. So what is your vision for the future of EBSI and how you can see EBSI-NE help achieve that? I will go to Pan.
Well, I think from where I left the presentation, which is how to ensure the long-term sustainability. That is the challenge. We had the EBSI-NE, and this helped us establish a network of nodes and upgrade the nodes and reach production level, and this is great. But such that this is now ending, and we have to ensure that this will remain in place. So that was the objective of the workshop a few days back. And we must have, I think that we must have a kind of permanent entity that will take care of it, and the node operators will be part of it, and that it will be able to get funding, perhaps from the private use cases. So I think that is where we should focus now that EBSI-NE is rolling up, and that's what should keep us busy from the summer onwards.
Thank you. Daniel, what is your vision about the future of EBSI and including EBSI-NE and what it's trying to achieve?
Well, the future is, of course, that we have a stable network that many use cases can be used. And the first ones, of course, the ones that are being elaborated within the different projects. So the verified credentials linked to the digital identity, but also the traceability. So we are seeing those use cases getting in production, being used in multiple kind of things. But of course, it doesn't need to be stopping there. We need to explore, as this is a bit a European network for decentralized aspect. We need to see and explore that other people with other use cases, private or public use case, can be onboarding using the capabilities that are already there, but maybe also looking at new capabilities. And as Jonas has mentioned, maybe at a certain moment we'll be also reflect, okay, we have certain protocols, but for those use cases they don't serve, we need other protocols. Maybe if we one day go to tokenization and trying to do those kind of things, or maybe we will need to have or high volume transaction that is maybe already foreseen in the digital product passport, that we also include those kind of things. So the node operators also need to be there to tackle those kind of things. So we cannot limit ourselves to what the current use, and therefore it's also interesting to see we have now currently the 18 node operators that are doing their job to sustain the current traffic and the current interactions. But if this grows to a very big fundamental thing where a lot of use cases will be needing extra partners and extra nodes to support those traffic. So the future of EBSI is also thinking something that needs to be open and interactive with a lot of people. And also one last thing, so there will be a lot of use cases that they also need to organize themselves to say, okay, we want to have make use of that. But I think there is also a very big market for the service providers on this kind of thing. They will build solution for organization to interact. So no citizen, no organization will interact directly with EBSI. It will be via tooling that will be providing your backend system will talk maybe to an enterprise wallet or whatever aspect that will interact with the EBSI system and will have this trust kind of thing. So that is also a big market that also needs to mature. We see already a lot of interaction on older wallets and a lot of solution, but in the cases that Stefan has mentioned, also a lot of service providers will need to help companies to say, okay, we want to interact in a digital product passport. I want to look at the traceability of the systems. Can you provide solutions that are compatible with that EBSI, that can interact, can easily trust and this kind of thing? So we are looking at a future that needs to be growing, but also organically and openly. So it's not about, okay, we're going to control it as a project and we're going to limit it. If this has success, we need to be very scalable and very flexible in that sense. The backbone is there, but now, of course, this needs to be growing. So there's also an invitation, and there's also welcoming initiatives like this seminary, because we need other new partners. We need people that have maybe other uses that we have not foreseen. But of course, this network needs to be open to a lot of things.
Thank you, Daniel. Stephen? What is your vision for the future?
My vision for the future, I hope that Europe identifies the added value of having a public infrastructure provided by the member states, which contains something no other infrastructure contains in Europe. I know I repeat it. It's this governmental trust anchor. No QTSP contains this. No private wallet provider. I always rely on a private infrastructure from a private company which may have commercial interests. So, and having such an infrastructure and implementing trust services on this infrastructure strengthens European digital sovereignty and limits the dependency on non-European technology. And I think my vision is a bit that we identify this potential and we use the EBSI, especially in B2B use cases where we have this combination of identity and transaction, because exactly for this an electronic ledger was built. And since we have qualified trust services for ledger, we close this gap of proven security and proven trust, because this is what we really get with a qualified trust service provider for electronic ledger. So long story short, my vision is that Europe identifies the potential which EBSI contains, and we use this for implementing core European initiatives and regulations like product passport, like supply chain, like the eIDAS, like the Data Act for the for data sharing, etc. And so strengths European digital sovereignty in future.
Thank you. Jonas?
Well, I have to admit, pretty much everything was said. So essentially, for me, future of EBSI, basically, we need a central organization first of all, and I'm really looking forward to that. And it is because if we want to accommodate the use cases that should rely on a governmental trust, we have an EDIC, which with the EDIC we will work in close collaboration. It means that EDIC will provide or implement various policies coming from member state, whereas we as a network, we have an infrastructure, we have a security measures, we have an API that soon will be open source. So in case someone is willing to adjust it, to change it, or whatever it is, so everyone is free to do so. And as well as we have that top layer trust anchor. So in practice, it means that we can decompose it. I'm looking forward to the organization that we will build, and it will provide various levels of services. It can be coming from infrastructural ones up to single support line, something like this, meaning that you in Greece, you will need to establish national competence centers. I mean, that is part of sustainability strategy as well. So in practice, it means if someone in Greece is willing to onboard, regardless use case, service provider, or even node operator, they can get a help on a national language if it needed. You as a national competence center, you will have accessibility to all the experts available in the network, meaning that if you have a certain challenges, you can engage anyone in the network by asking, okay, please interact and assist some here. So all this stuff can be either done as a public service. The same goes to commercial services as well. So I think it is a huge part of our sustainability, meaning that we need to somehow accommodate both public services as well as commercial services. So we can serve either to citizens for public use cases as well as a private ones, B2B, even very specific that might be needed only by a certain sector. So we are ready for that. We just need to be organized and get at least one willing to utilize EBSI.
Great, thank you. We have some questions from the audience. One of them is, how can interested parties get in touch if interested taking part in such illustration? I will give this to Daniel.
Now, to get involved, of course, is on different levels. So if you want to use...
Sorry for interrupting. It says that they want also to find out the specifications needed by the organization. I'm sorry, Daniel, go on.
Okay. So the specific, depending indeed at the use cases that you are looking. If you are talking about, okay, I want to use the capabilities on the verified credentials, and to do that, then you can of course look at it. Okay, we need already a provider that is capable to interact. So there are already at this moment a lot of enterprise wallets that are compatible with EBSI Vector, and so you can already start to issue the verified credentials and those kind of things. So that is already possible. We have also developed in EBSI Vector an open source reference implementation of an enterprise wallet. So organization on a technical level ready, they can already use those kind of things. So that is also already possible. So depending if your organization is looking, okay, I want to use that. Now, of course, if your organization is an IT provider, service provider, all the specifications are being openly shared in the EBSI Hub. So you can also see, okay, is this interesting to build solutions based on the current capabilities? That is already possible to, as a university, look at it, or even as a service provider, do those kind of things. The same applies, I think, but maybe Stefan can reply on those kind of thing. I think if you are looking, okay, capabilities are being built in traceability or doing the things, there is also the possibility to already use them. So the EBSI Hub is the best place. Now, of course, if the question is a bit more complex, you say, okay, I want to use EBSI for a new use case that is not being currently expected. That is also the thing that we as an organization also need to grow, so to tackle those kind of things. That's also what Jonas was mentioning. The first step is indeed to have an interaction with the National Competence Center to discuss what you want to do. Is that already today possible in EBSI, or do we need to develop something specific on those kind of things? So there are multiple layers on your question. So maybe it's best that they address it to the Greek National Competence Center, and that you address those kind of things, and then we can see, okay, at which layer or which level are you, so that we can help you. Yeah. Now, of course, it doesn't need to be always that cumbersome. I think we need to have models where you can easily plug and play things, and that you can find information. That's also, I think, one of the challenges or main output, that we need to make this, if we want to make this real scalable, need to be more flexible so people can easily plug in with current capabilities and try to experiment or set up, okay, I want to have a dedicated space, a dedicated research or pilot kind of environment. Please provide me for this and this kind of things, so that we have those that flexibility.
Thank you, Daniel. Stephen, I don't know if you have a comment on this. I see you sent something.
Yeah, I think I can only support what Daniel said, that as mentioned, basically the EBSI can support key initiatives in Europe, and I only can recommend to identify and use exactly this potential and to avoid reinventing the wheel. Yeah, so many of the subjects we currently discuss, for example, in terms of the IDAS regulation, let's say about a trust model, let's speak about the relying party authorizations, let's speak about the formats, the technical framework. Those subjects already exist in the IDAS and already exist in EBSI. So the question is a bit, why do we rebuild the wheel? Why do we reinvent? Why do we not reuse what we already have? So my recommendation in this case is clearly not to separate the word, oh, there's the IDAS and there's EBSI. No, it's an infrastructure like any PKI. Yeah. So, and to use what we already have. And so to achieve really an added value for B2B use cases, but also for the citizen use cases like the diploma, like Social Security, as Daniel described. Currently, we separate those initiatives, we separate the infrastructure, and this means we double our effort. Yeah, and this is a thing which can't be really in the interests of European people and the European companies. So let's let's use the synergies between the different infrastructures and let's use what's already there.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Another question says that, are there any ISO or other certifications needed for organizations? I don't know, Jonas, do you have
Well,
maybe
for
any
sure.
advice?
I mean, from security perspective, it should be ISO 27K or something equivalent. Nevertheless, it is worth mentioning that it's not just if you have a certificate, I mean, security certificate, you are good to go. Essentially, if you want to become a node operator, you need to get two endorsements. One is to get access to specifications and even start an interaction with EBSI. And the second endorsement is a security one. So in practice, it means it's well, someone in a member state, because it's a permissioned network. It means that someone in Greece, the EDIC member, will need to endorse that organization. So it should pass some sort of a security as well as reliability validation. Because this is the way how we build that secure network. This is why we are gaining and having that governmental trust anchor, because government is controlling who is actually providing validating nodes.
Great, thank you. And the last question, with LLM academic credentials are not a one-time process? I don't really understand this question, but you know, this is the question here. They have sent from the audience. Yeah. I don't know, Alexandra. Yeah. Okay, I guess we came to an end to our discussion. I would like to thank Daniel, Panos, Stefan, and Jonas for participating in this discussion. We heard really interesting points of view and about EBSI and EBSI-NE. Hopefully we'll have, let's say, the evolution of EBSI-NE will continue with more use cases to be implemented and public citizens to get engaged to these use cases. So thank you everyone for this discussion. We will have a break till 11:45, and then we will continue with the workshop from SER. So see you in 20 minutes, no, 25 minutes, yeah? Yes, thank you. 15 minutes, yeah, okay. So see you everyone in 15 minutes. From the panel, whoever wants to join us to the second half of our day, you're welcome. If not, talk to you through the projects. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thanos Kapsalis. I'm a research assistant from CERT, and I am the technical lead of CERT's EBSI node. Me, Panagiotis Avidis, and Ioannis Gripiotis, we are going to present to you our journey as a node operator, with each one presenting a different section. The rest of the team is Giorgos Harmanas, Konstantinos Votis, and Christina Livitskaya. Before we start, I must mention that the content of this presentation is not representative of the EU Commission. Sorry. There we are. The main outline of this presentation is the following. I am going to start with an introduction to EBSI and CERT. Then I'm going to present to you our onboarding experience, the node requirements, and finally the setup. Then Panagiotis will follow with applications for public and private use cases. And finally, Yannis with a rather interesting topic regarding the SSI wallet implementation and how to expand the EBSI. So, what is EBSI? EBSI is a European blockchain services infrastructure, an initiative by the European Commission European Blockchain Partnership. It is designed to deliver blockchain-enabled cross-border digital public services with transparency and efficiency and trust. It is built on proof of authority consensus for environmental sustainability. Designed for use cases including credential verification, identity, document traceability, and trusted data sharing. What is the EBSI ecosystem and its potential? The nodes serve as a foundational pillar for building Europe's digital sovereignty. Public administrations and private stakeholders collaborate to co-create interoperable, trusted digital ecosystems across borders. This paves the way for next-generation public services, enabling secure document exchange, verifiable credentials, and resilient digital identity frameworks. EBSI nodes lay the groundwork for a resilient digital Europe. I heard the sound. Is everything okay? Okay. Now, who are we? CERT is a member of the EBSI-NE consortium of 24 organizations across 14 European countries. We are a validator node operator in the EBSI pre-production production network, a technical contributor to EBSI network security and resilience. We provide the regional technical support and knowledge through Technical Competence Center. Also, we are participants in European blockchain standardization efforts. Let's move to a little bit more technical things. What are the two types of nodes in the EBSI network? Those two types are validator and regular nodes. As mentioned before, we are a validator node, and the validator node has the role to propose and sign new blocks. Also, they maintain a copy of the ledger by staying in sync with the network. And the regular node just maintains a copy of the ledger. There are three EBSI node environments: the pilot, the pre-production, and the production. The pilot is used for testing new features, capabilities, and use cases, and once evaluated, can be implemented in the pre-production environment. The pre-production environment is an identical copy of the production environment and is used to test software releases that have passed through the pilot environment. Finally, the production environment, when a new release is ready, it is where it will operate. In the next three slides, we're going to see the current situation per each environment. In the first one, there are 40 total pilot nodes across Europe, with 24 of them being validators and 16 being regular nodes. For the pre-production and the production environments, there are 23 nodes with 15 validators and 8 regular nodes. This is a production. Our EBSI journey so far. In 2019 and 2020, we installed the first versions of the EBSI. At 21 and 22, the version 2 was installed, marking the launch of the EBSI 3 environments mentioned before. At 2023, we became a node validator, and at 2024, the onboarding phase started and the production grade environment was installed. Up till now, at 2025, we update per request and in order to maintain our compliance status. Let's move to a little bit more technical stuff. I'm going to present a short overview of the key points that we had to implement. For the infrastructure, the setup we deployed enterprise-grade servers, virtualized with Docker images from EBSI Hub. We applied configuration scripts and naming conventions as per the EBSI onboarding process. We configured firewalls, web application firewalls, deployed the CM tools for real-time monitoring and anti-DOS protection. Meeting ISO 27001 standards, aligning with the IDAS 2.0 qualified ledger readiness, and also ensuring conformity with node operator onboarding book, NUB, and EBSI SLA policies. Lastly, we conducted the validation test and resolved any configuration issues with the help of the EBSI help desk. What are the hardware specifications for each of the three environments? Pilot and pre-production require at least 4 virtual CPUs, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and 2 disks, one 80 gigabytes for the operating system and one 256 gigabytes for the data storage. The production environment requires more resources with at least 8 virtual CPUs, 64 gigabytes of RAM, 80 gigabyte disk for the operating system, and the 500 gigabyte disk for the data storage. As mentioned before, there are some important compliance requirements that must be met, including ISO 27001, anti-DOS protection, web application firewall, and an organization validation SSL for pre-production and prod environments. It is very important to understand that the node operator is responsible for the node security compliance. Moving on to the network specifications, a 2.4 gigahertz network is needed, one fixed public IPv4 for each environment, at least 100 megabits per second for bandwidth, with a maximum latency of 100 milliseconds, 1 gigabyte Ethernet local network, and Ethernet connections to communicate with other EBSI nodes and in order to get updates. The node requirements now needed for the pilot environment are shown in this image, and we're going to explain really fast. The pilot must have a host name and be installed in a VM. The host name should never change. It must be behind the firewall with some inbound and outbound rules. The pre-production and production configuration is a little bit more complex and strict. The VM must have a local IP and must be behind the proxy that has a web application firewall. Those two must be behind the firewall with anti-DOS protection, together with some inbound and outbound rules to allow for the correct operation of the node. In our implementation, we added one additional firewall with CM tools and anti-DOS protection for more security, as shown in this image. As previously shown, firewall must allow inbound rules that are required for TLS core APIs and apps, patch updates, SSH connection, etc. Also, inbound rules are set according to the environment type. After configuring the firewall and understanding the architecture of its EBSI environment, one must proceed to the installation of the nodes. The first step is to get the credentials from the support office during the onboarding process, and then download the Docker images, which contain an optimized operating system and all the necessary tools to install the node. The first of those two images is used for the operating disk, and the second one is used for the storage disk. After the instance is up and running, log in using the supplied default username and password. And for security reasons, it is highly recommended to change the password, and the login screen will prompt the user to do so. Sorry. As a third step, the host name provided by the support office must be changed because it will be widely used by the configuration management and the initialization scripts. The EBSI Hub provides rules that need to be enforced in the node naming. An example is shown below. The first three letters, the AIO, is the type of the node installation. This means all in one. The 01 number is the node ID. The next number is the role sequence number. In cases where you have more than one node per environment, the values start from 0. Next in the environment with pilot, pre-prod, and prod being the values. Following is the country member state, the 3-letter ISO code. And last is the VM hostname domain. Can be anything the node operator wants, but it must not change after the installation. Next step is the initialization of the node. The process starts by using the host name set in the previous step. This process will install the necessary packages and containers. During the initialization, the Puppet code will be requested, which was provided by the help desk office. Then the code is used for the initial authentication step in order to get access to the configuration management services. The initialization script takes around 20 minutes to complete, and if any errors occur, the script stops and prints an indicating error. This error should be sent to the support office to request additional help, and if everything goes correctly and completed, the successful script execution message will be printed. After successfully installing the node, there are some further configurations that needs to take place. A DNS host name using your public ID domain must be configured, as well as a TLS certificate for the node to access public APIs and the Block Explorer service. Depending on the environment, the configuration changes. For example, in the pilot environment, the DNS should point to the public IP address, and the TLS certificate can be either manually or automatically provisioned using, let's say, Let's Encrypt. On the contrary, in the pre-production and production environments, they should be behind the WAF anti-DOS service, and the DNS record should point to the public IP address of that service. The TLS certificate should be an organization-wide certificate. After finishing the DNS and TLS configuration, the last step is verification. The first step for the verification is a benchmark script. And after you run it, you should send the results to the support office, and they check if the requirements are met. If they are, you are a proud owner, you are a proud node operator. As performance optimization strategies, we applied the daily check of virtual machine resources, upgrades from SATA to NVMe SSDs when and if needed. Also, since host machines have more available RAM, more can be deployed to the VMs. A CPU upgrade is also possible, though a little bit more complex. With this, I conclude my presentation, and I'm leaving the floor to Panagiotis. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Panagiotis. I'm a research assistant in CERT, and I'm going to talk about some use cases for the EBSI-NE. Of course, as it was already mentioned, there are numerous use cases, but we are just going to talk about some of them, especially those that our team is working on. EBSI-NE helps improve digital public services in Europe by adding more validator nodes to the existing EBSI network. This makes this system more scalable, reliable, and secure. Some of the use cases are notarization, digital diplomas, European digital identity, and trusted data sharing across EU countries. Let's talk about digital diploma verification. EBSI-NE helps schools and universities issue and verify diplomas using blockchain. This means that diplomas are secure and can be changed. They are tamper-proof. It is easy to check if a diploma is real, fraud is reduced, and trust is increased. Thanks to EBSI-NE's stronger network, diplomas can be verified across borders in the EU. Students and professionals can move more easily between countries. Next up is the digital identity. And EBSI-NE helps make European digital identity systems more secure, scalable, and private by adding more validator nodes to the blockchain network. With EBSI-NE, citizens can control their digital identity and decide what personal data to share. Data is stored securely and can be changed, thanks to the blockchain. Privacy and transparency are always protected. For public services, governments can interact with citizens using verified and trusted data. Services like healthcare, social security, and taxes become more secure and efficient. It reduces fraud and errors in identity data. EBSI-NE supports the growth of digital identity across Europe, making it easier for people to access services across borders and helping build a digital single market. Trusted data sharing with EBSI-NE. EBSI-NE makes it safer and easier for public institutions and businesses in the EU to share sensitive data like government records or personal information. With EBSI-NE, data is secure, transparent, and can be changed. Everything is traceable and follows GDPR rules. Blockchain ensures data stays private and trustworthy. This helps with cross-border cooperation like tax, healthcare, and public records. They are faster and safer access to services and building trust between government, citizens, and companies. The decentralized system makes sure no one can change or control the data alone, keeping it safe for everyone. Finally, about notarization with EBSI-NE. EBSI-NE supports secure digital notarization using blockchain. This allows public and private documents like contracts, certificates, or permits to be digitally signed and verified. With EBSI-NE, digital signatures are tamper-proof and easy to verify. There is no need for physical notarization. They are faster and more efficient. Documents are securely stored and traceable on the blockchain. This is especially useful for cross-border transactions in the EU, where documents verification can be slow. EBSI-NE speeds this up and makes it more secure, helping reduce fraud and build trust. Digital product passports with EBSI-NE. Digital DPPs use blockchain to store a product's full history, from how it was made to how it can be recycled. With EBSI-NE, businesses can issue secure tamper-proof DPPs at scale across borders. Some of the key benefits revolve around supply chain transparency, which helps track a product's journey from its origins to the materials used till the production. Consumers can simply scan a QR code to see verified info. This boosts trust and informed choices. Next is anti-counterfeiting. Each product has a unique blockchain record. This helps stop fake goods in industries like fashion, electronics, and medicine. The next benefit is the sustainability tracking. EBSI-NE supports the circular economy by showing how products can be recycled or reused, from cars to clothes. The regulatory compliance. In order to meet safety, origin, and sustainability laws with secure, auditable product records. The next benefit is the consumer engagement. They let customers access product history and reward responsible buying. This builds trust through transparency. And finally, the after-sale services. In order to store warranty, repair, and service info directly on the blockchain for easy access and faster support. In summary, EBSI-NE makes digital product passports possible. They are secure, transparent, and scalable, improving trust, compliance, and sustainability across industries. And finally, let's talk about cross-border services with EBSI-NE. EBSI-NE strengthens the EU's ability to provide secure and efficient public services across borders by adding more validator nodes. This makes the network more powerful, resilient, and ready to handle more data. Once again, let's see the key benefits. First is the seamless data sharing. EU countries can securely share data like social benefits, taxes, or healthcare while staying GDPR compliant. Citizens can access services across borders without delays. The cross-border document verification. Documents like diplomas, certificates, or permits can be verified quickly and securely anywhere in the EU. This supports mobility and services like e-residency and business licensing. Next is the support for businesses. EBSI-NE helps companies operate across the EU by enabling secure data sharing for compliance, reporting, and certifications, which is great for trade, e-commerce, and supply chains. And finally, building trust. Public and private entities can trust each other more thanks to blockchain's transparency and security, encouraging more EU-wide collaboration and investment. Just to summarize things, EBSI-NE helps build a stronger, more connected digital Europe, making services faster, safer, and more reliable for everyone. This is all for me. And now, next up is Yannis. Thanks for hearing.
Hello, everyone. This is Ioannis from CERT. I'm the lead developer of SSI Wallet, which is an identity solution aligned with EBSI. It's fully conformant with the latest EBSI conformance testing. This is version 3.2. It's built upon open standards like decentralized identifiers and verify credentials data model from W3C and OpenID for VP and OpenID for VCI from the OpenID
foundations. It supports two different wallet types: the individual wallet, which is directed towards individuals like citizens, students, and it allows to request, securely store, and present verified credentials, such as diplomas and attestations. The organization wallet enables institutions to issue, verify, accredit, and revoke credentials in a secure and standards-based manner. And this is the overview of the enterprise wallet and its capabilities. It can issue credentials, verify credentials, revoke, accredit and authorize, which is some functions to onboard and invite other issuers to the EBSI trust chain. It's conformant with the performance testing of EBSI. And we are also working on some interoperability testing along with some other wallet providers. The overview of the holder wallet. It enables users to request credentials from issuers and present them to verify securely. It has multi-language support. It's also fully compliant with the conformance testing. And we are also running some interoperability tests for the holder wallet. Here you can see a few screenshots of the holder wallet. In the middle screen, you can see like the main page. You can click on the on the icon with the camera to scan a QR code. And this begins the issuance flow. The user is presented with the credential offer, like details, and can accept or reject the credential offer. And on the right-hand side, you can see like some details about the issuer credential. For the interoperability testing, we run the tests for two different time-based flows. The in-time response, which means that the credential is issued in real time, while the deferred issuance is usually used in a flow where the issuance process requires human interactions, like someone to review and approve the issuance request. So the issuer prepares the credential, and the user of the wallet can retrieve it at a later time. There are two different authorization-based flow that we test: the pre-authorized issuance, the authorized issuance with an ID token. And currently, on some preliminary tests, we found that we're fully compliant with 3 other wallet providers. We are partially compliant with another 3, and we are running tests. We have 2 more tests in progress. On the screen, you can see a screenshot of an interface we prepared for the interoperability testing. So this is the enterprise wallet, and other wallet providers can use it to test their holder wallet against our issuer for the flows that we mentioned before. Okay, so our knowledge started like 5 years ago. We have developed wallets across multiple SSI architectures and protocols. We have applied them in the pharmaceutical and industry, and also other domains like public services. Okay, sorry. We focus on tolerability, ease of use, and broad sector applicability, and currently finalizing the UI and branding elements for both holder and the enterprise wallets. So the current status is that the enterprise wallet is working and tested. And the holder wallet is functional and EBSI conformant. Interoperability is confirmed with multiple EBSI issuers. And we have pre-production demo testing available, and we are doing some UI refinement and branding is in progress. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, colleagues from CERT. It seems that the workshop will be wrapped up earlier than expected. If you have any questions, we will wait for like 2 to 3 minutes. You can send them through the platform, and then I guess we can close the workshop also. Okay, it seems no questions are coming through the platform, so we can close the session for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, most of you from online. And I hope we'll see you through future projects. Thank you. Bye.